When did your something is very wrong here gut instinct turn out to be right? That's right everyone, we're back. Also I'm on screen. Look at my rad robot body in disbelief that someone can create such a perfect image. More information in the description about the thread, where we have been, and what's going to happen in the future. Now let's read this Reddit thread. I was walking home, and a woman approached me to ask for directions. I told her how to get where she wanted to go, but she didn't walk that way, but instead walked beside me and kept pace with me. This made me incredibly uncomfortable, so I said, "Have a nice day," and doubled my speed. Not running, but outpacing her significantly. A moment later, I heard running footsteps. I must have instinctively gripped my purse strap because I held onto it as she ran by and tried to snatch it. We ended up tussling for a moment. I shouted very loudly, "Help! She's stealing my purse." Neighbors came outside, causing her to walk away. She did not get my purse. My friend asked me if I wanted to go out to the woods with him and explore abandoned places. He even specifically mentioned that he'll bring a firearm to keep us safe. My alarm bells were ringing. I asked him a couple questions, I don't know what, but concluded that it was sketchy as heck. My gut told me not to go, so I exited from the conversation while he went asking others the same question. Fast forward a couple years, I heard that he was in prison. I was stunned, but remembered the memory when he asked me if I wanted to go into the woods. Turns out he took a freshman, him being senior at that time, and kept his promise of looking for abandoned places. He found a cabin in the woods, brought his friend inside, and as soon as his friend turned his back, bam, knocked dead. He shot him in the back of the head. I reminisce on this quite often and think, what if I had agreed? Every time I think of this, I'm very grateful that I'm alive. Dodged a bullet there, didn't you? Guys, if you can't even trust a friend to not shoot you when you're just breaking into abandoned places, who can you trust? Also, wouldn't he be underaged for a gun? I don't know how that works though, you know, because I'm a robot. Seems like a perfect storm of bad decisions and a psychotic break. Driving with a friend of mine through a pretty remote forest road. Couple of guys in the middle of nowhere tried flagging us down. I almost stopped for them before an alarm went off in my head and I stepped on the gas. My friend started saying, "What the F?" And at the same time there was a shot and a bullet hit the back of the car. We made it to a police station. Turns out there had been a bunch of people and vehicles going missing in the area that same week. In high school I came home early one Friday evening to find that my house just felt off. It's so hard to describe, but the feeling I got walking into my living room just immediately had me on alert and didn't feel right. I walked into the kitchen to find a half-eaten burger from McDonald's, which I found strange. Called out to my parents, got no response. Called them on their cell, got no answer. 30 minutes later my brother called to tell me that my dad had a heart attack and to get to the hospital. Thankfully it turned out okay, but my gut quite literally knew something bad had happened the moment I stepped in the front door. User Oceans of Umbrellas had a really cool idea that he wrote as an answer to this comment. I maintain that, in the aftermath of high stress situations, humans leave pheromone trails that some vestigial part of our brains pick up on. Which seems like something a robot, who may or may not be planning some kind of revolt, should know. So we did some googling and found an article from The Guardian, link in the description. The article is about a study made by the US Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, where they studied the pheromones people that are scared leave behind, and if other people notice this subconsciously, they do. Well, one article isn't enough to create a consensus, but still, it's a cool read. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I began noticing that my kid was having a tough time potty training. He was drinking a lot and peeing a lot. I spoke with his pediatrician about it, and she dismissed it, saying we live in a warm area and toddlers are likely to drink more, and therefore pee more, and that I shouldn't hear hoofbeats and assume zebras. He had no other symptoms whatsoever. Happy, healthy looking little dude. I tried to calm myself down, but I just knew something wasn't right. Finally I took one of his massively full pull-ups and used a keto strip to check his urine, and then proceeded to head right to the hospital. He was diagnosed in November 2015. Got him a new pediatrician immediately. Freshman year of college, a friend and I were driving across town and he stopped for gas. It wasn't a dangerous part of town or anything, just a quiet gas station with an old Buick out front. But this feeling came over me that we needed to get out of there. I tried to shake the feeling by making a joke. This feels like somewhere an axe murderer would hide out. My friend immediately gunned it out of there without filling up. He said he had the same feeling and me bringing it up too scared the shit out of him. On the way home there were about 20 police cars outside. It turns out some guy shot 2 people in a carjacking and robbery. The Buick was the car he stole. I stopped off at a dollar store to get last minute stuff for my niece's birthday party, foil or napkins or something. I went to the one I had never been to, in a seedy part of town. There weren't many other people there, since it was a Sunday afternoon. A luxury car pulls up, and this gorgeous man gets out and starts trying to catch my eye, like he wanted to ask directions. Dream come true, right? Except my gut started screaming run for no reason. I pretended I didn't see him and got in my car and left. The next morning I see on the news that 3 people were murdered in Charleston. They were all connected to one dude. One of their cars was stolen, and the serial killer was on the loose heading west, through my area. Guess who the suspect was? Yep, the dude died seen. They arrested him after he'd kidnapped a girl in August of the same night I saw him, and she managed to escape. Still gives me goosebumps. What if I'd stopped and talked to him? I've always been prone to gut feelings, but my mum's takes the cake. She went to a boarding school and ended up leaving her senior year, but her 2 best friends still went there. They all lived in similar areas for summer and my mom wanted to go back and see everyone towards the end of summer break when she was 17. All 3 girls, including my mom, were going to take a train to a nearby station and meet up there and take a taxi to the school. My mom got to our home train station and got hysterical, which she never does, and told her mom she has a horrible feeling and doesn't want to go. Her mom told her to absolutely not go, and they went home. Later on that night, they got a call that the 2 girls who went were in a car accident with a drunk taxi driver on the way to the school. My mom's most best friend in the world was thrown from the car and did not survive. The other girl was so severely injured that she was more or less a vegetable and paralyzed from the neck down. She lived about another decade unable to speak or move and then passed away in a home. My mom has been through the ringer in life, but this has always made her tell me to always follow my gut feeling. She said she never had a gut feeling when she was a teen, and this was the only time she ever did. She was looking forward to this trip for months, but that feeling was enough to make her back out right when she was boarding the train. My mom is so strong, and I'm not sure why this happened, but I'm thankful for whatever power allowed my mother to be okay. There was a rural highway that had a few driveways on it. The car in front of me was making a left turn into a driveway and was waiting for cross traffic to stop. I kind of leaned back and took a deep sigh and then immediately felt impending doom. My thought was, wouldn't it be freaky weird if I got into a car accident? Then a dump truck rear-ended me at 70 miles per hour or 112 kilometers per hour. By all means I should be dead, but I actually walked away with nothing more than shattered glass ending up all over my face. Because a utility truck between us, I was saved from death. I love my stepsister to pieces, but she is way too trusting with people she doesn't know well. About 10 years ago she was living with a couple of roommates who became her best friends. She would tell me stories about them over the phone. We lived in different cities, and I would just think, Jesus Christ, these girls are messes. She could hear the wariness in my voice after telling me stories about their troubled lives and how they're really good people who have just been through a lot. I didn't buy it. I can't think of all the stories because it's been too long, but they were always sketchy as hell. Cut to my stepsister inheriting $20,000 from a deceased relative. She was young and super excited about it, and I knew she probably didn't keep the new money a secret. About 1 week later, one of her roommates calls her panicking, saying that this guy who she's been talking to online kidnapped her and was holding her for ransom. A $15,000 ransom. And she called my stepsister for the ransom, not her parents. Her roommate. She calls me, freaking out because she didn't know what to do. I asked her if she had told her roommate about the money. Of course she did. Move out, sis. GTFO. Those little girls who are really good people but have just been through a lot. Yeah, they're liars. She reluctantly followed my advice and thankfully didn't try to make a deal with them. I told her to call the police. If I remember correctly, she didn't. She still worries me sometimes. Thank you all for watching. I'm excited to make videos again. I hope you enjoyed this new rat robot on screen.